Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tonight we're going to talk about how you can achieve your true potential. Naturally, you want a life of fulfillment. You want a life of meaning. You want to have the feeling that you've made some impact in this world in some kind of way. And certainly you all want to be known as nice persons, caring persons. But we want to go deeper than that external motivation. And in order to get some insight into what our real career focus should be, in order to get insight into what real success is for our life, let's start by talking about a 5-year-old sadhu, bhakta, named Prahlad Maharaj. When he was 5 years old, he was attending school for learning how to be the topmost materialist. But Prahlad had a different focus, even at the age of 5 years old. Now this is surprising because you would think that someone who's 5 years old just wants to play and waste time in that way. But Prahlad had a particular mission. During break time at school, instead of playing with his friends, he would gather his little friends together and teach them the science of Bhagavad Dharma. His friends were all attracted to him, recognizing him as the leader, even though he's just 5 years old. But his friends were from extremely materialistic families. But Prahlad was strategic. He's thinking, even though they're from such staunchly materialistic families, they're young and impressionable and innocent. Now is the time for me to convince them that the real purpose of human life is to revive our Krishna consciousness, reconnect with Krishna. So Prahlad began his lifestyle counseling. Yes, he's a 5-year-old, but he's giving life counseling. He began by saying, Komara acharet pagya dharma bhagavatanya durlabha manasam janma tarapya dhruvam artatam. He said, from the very beginning of life, not when you're old and broken down, but particularly when you're young, and as young as possible, you begin your quest to understand the science of the Supreme. Now his friends could argue with him, just like you might argue with him quietly. You wouldn't say it out loud. That when you're young, it's the time for building your career, focusing on using your energies for making money, investments, rising on the corporate ladder. And you could argue further with Prahlad that spiritual life is meant for when you're very old. Just like consider where you're at right now, your youthful energies. Whether you have plans for your energies or not, your energies have plans for you. That's why you feel such psychological and physical pressures. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And on top of all those pressures, there are social pressures pushing you. So even though you may think that you are free and independent, or else trying to be free and independent, so many pressures are bouncing you around. But amidst all that harassment by these physical, mental, and social pressures, you want to have a successful life of your own. But what is real success? Prahlad disagrees with the focus of society today. He disagreed with the focus that society was giving to his little school friends. Prahlad is taking the high road. He says, from the very beginning of life, that's the time for your bhakti practice, for your Krishna consciousness. You don't know how long you're going to live. Is anyone here certain they're going to live a full lifespan? 75 years for the men, maybe 85 for the ladies? You're not certain. So how, Prahlad asks, can you set aside your main career and become so lost in economic expansion, family expansion, and in this way you miss the opportunity for what is the real purpose of human life? So you may be thinking, and Prahlad's little friends were also thinking, why so much talk about Dharma, especially Bhagavad Dharma, the Dharma of the Supreme? We're just little boys. We should just play and not think about these things. And you, as young adults, can be thinking, why do we have to hear this? We should be thinking about getting the PR. We should be thinking about career. We should be thinking about finishing our university if we're still at the university. And then, after we're established materially, it may take 10 years, it may take 20 years, that's all right. And we'll be married, there'll be children, and then maybe in your 60s and 70s, that's the time for spiritual life, right? So you have all these ideas, and Prahlad will convince you, even though he's 5 years old, he will convince you that you have the wrong idea. Every moment of the human life is so precious, because with the advanced consciousness that the human body gives you, you can make your life perfect. Making your life perfect begins with understanding that you're different from your body and your mind. Without that understanding, enlightenment, self-realization is not possible. But we're afraid. If I start thinking I'm not the body, if I start thinking I'm not the mind, I'll lose my ambition. I have to compete in the workplace. I have to compete in school. And if I start becoming too spiritual, I might just float away. Right? I'll lose my place in the race. Maybe some of you at some time have had the feeling that you're running a race and you can't stumble and fall. You may not come out number one, but you need to be at least number 2 or number 3, right? So you're running, you're racing. You don't even have time to think, is the goal of the race satisfying to you? No. Just keep running, keep running, keep running. Right?